Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Carrie Van Zandt, and I'm the Executive Director over here at Neuro Navigation. I'm so glad that you could join us today for our online class of supporting ADHD in the academic settings. Let's get started. So first and foremost, I find it very interesting that there are still people who believe that ADHD is not a real condition, that it doesn't exist, that people are using it as, if you will, an excuse, I've even heard. And the truth is, there's scientific evidence that ADHD or attention deficit deficiencies do exist in people. And they're highly impactful, especially when it comes to their ability to learn. And so we're going to dive into that in this online class. But I just wanted to show that here's one example out of thousands that are out there from academic journalists, various scholars who have indeed captured the neurological differences, indicating that attention deficits or attention deficiencies in people exist. And so it is known as a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it's equally diagnosed in both males and females, although there was for some brief time, a few years back, the concept that, or theory that males had ADHD, but it was really rare in females. And that has just been completely debunked. That is untrue. It is equally distributed. It is a non-discriminatory, unfortunately, um, disorder. So it affects all races, all people, genders, etc., in and with an equity um, brush, if you will, for a landscape. And then it also, as I had mentioned, creates some really difficulties in performing daily tasks, especially when trying to learn at school. And so a daily task might be executive functioning, it might be organizational skills, going from one task to the next, or prioritizing those tasks. ADHD is very impactful. It is a very real condition that can cause challenges in one's ability to organize their thoughts, their actions, and execute. That's not to say that there aren't tools and there aren't support systems out there that can um, make a more organized or a stronger ability to achieve what people want to take care of. There are tools and resources out there to help. And then ADHD is something that is diagnosed by a doctor. And this is important because I have a daughter who has been diagnosed with ADHD, and she finds it quite frustrating when she has friends that say, "Oh, that was my ADHD kicking in," or other comments like that that are not intended to be hurtful, I'm sure, but they are really disregarding the severity and the significance of the challenges that come along with somebody truly having ADHD. And then one more debunk, if you will, of a myth, and that is that you outgrow ADHD. Like any of the neurodivergent disorders, or I like to call them conditions, you don't outgrow them. However, you do become more skillful and identify opportunities to support them so that they are not as impactful in certain areas. This takes a lot of work and it takes help. So just know that it is, again, it's not something that you simply outgrow. All right, so what is ADHD, right? So really understanding the core symptoms of ADHD is critical in providing not only the appropriate support, but also accommodations in the academic setting. So accommodations, again, is that we talk about this in great detail in another online class, so please go check that out. But accommodations, briefly here, are the agreements between the school system, so your teachers, the psychologists, the principal, assistant principal, the counselors, the therapist, all of those wonderful roles within the school system. Accommodations is an agreement between them and what they will provide for your child. And of course, the parent is a driver of those accommodations, and all are responsible for identifying if they're working or not. And if they're not, then it's so important to go in and find other ones that may work or provide better services support for your child's learning needs. So ADHD, we talked about a little bit. It is indeed a neurodevelopmental disorder. It's simply put a different way that brains are wired. So it's not something that you can go and fix. There are some medications, and we'll talk about those, that may or may not support that being wired differently with the neurons in the brain and how they synapses and they jump from one neuron to the other and connecting uh, the transfer of information. But nonetheless, it is a different wiring of a individual's brain that makes up for this condition and really arises at the way that brain develops and functions. And it does, again, it affects a person's ability to pay attention, to control impulsive behaviors, and to manage even their energy level. I'll give a quick example about that. Again, my daughter's diagnosed with ADHD, and she was at a young age. And it's not uncommon for people with ADHD that what seems to be that their clocks, their internal clocks are set at a different time, if you will. So let me be specific. Around 8 p.m. or 7:30 every single night, she seems to ramp, regardless of how much she has slept the night before, regardless of how busy she has been during the day. She seems to ramp up around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night and gain energy. It just is a natural for her. And of course, it's very frustrating because she, like most of us, has obligations in the next following morning. And so a good night's sleep is really imperative to wake up refreshed and be able to feel energized to achieve those obligations. So ADHD is an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's what the ADHD stands for. And a lot of scientists and doctors have really removed that hyperactivity because it is a label that may not exist in all people who have attention deficits. And so just know that you may hear it simply referred to as ADD, the removal of that hyperactivity, that H in that acronym. So not only attention difficulties, individuals also may or may not have the hyperactivity. And that hyperactivity, I gave an example of my daughter increasing her energy at a certain time during the day. But really that hyperactivity, like all neurodivergent conditions, there's a spectrum for it, right? So the hyperactivity could be more consistent or constant in one's experience with ADD or ADHD, and it can appear to others as being fidgety or restless, or again impulsive, and I can't express this enough. It really causes challenges in individuals as they are learning to adapt to their surroundings and the condition of ADD that they have. So what are some of those challenges? And I always like to be specific to the academic or school setting. And the reason why we focus that here at neuronavigation.com is that it is imperative for young people to get their basic education. And our mission is that we want to see and help to achieve equity in accessing an education, especially for neurodivergent individuals. So some of the challenges we talked about was difficulty focusing. So struggling to maintain attention and concentration during lectures, during the school session, right? And receiving all that information, during discussions, during study sessions. And so imagine that you as a young person are trying to pay attention to the information your teacher is providing to you, but you are having great difficulty in doing it. Maybe the clock seems to be loud. It may be that your sensitivity with your surroundings are disruptive and creating a lack ability to focus for you. Regardless, not being able to hear and really um, comprehend the information, that study lesson that's being shared just has a downhill effect, right? How will you finish the assignment? How will you understand what's to do on the assignment? How will you be able to work with others on the information that was learned? So it's a really downhill negative impact when you're not able to gather that information from that teacher that's being shared. And what does this result in? Of course, not only the missed information, but confusion on the assignments, missed assignments. Eventually, it can also relate to an individual not being interested, right? You feel like that you're so far behind. Why even bother? And so it's really important to identify this challenge or condition as soon as possible and find the help that's needed for it. Another challenge is especially related to the school setting is organizational challenges. So keeping track of assignments. So maybe you heard what the assignment was, but can also be very difficult to identify what was due, when it was due, and of course, getting that information or that expectation turned around appropriately. And then, of course, time management issues. People with attention deficit disorder really can be challenged in time, whether that is a calendar, whether that is really distinguishing between AM and PM, whether that is literally telling time. It can be very challenging. So don't make assumptions that because of a certain age, somebody is understanding and feels as if they are recognizing the time or the calendar or the schedule that is being communicated. Always take some extra steps to make sure that they are aware and that they feel that they have a clear understanding of the expectations of the schedule or the calendar that is being discussed. All right, so let's talk about the tools and resources. For school alone, meaning inside the classroom, there are multiple tools and resources that can be and do work. They significantly help individuals with ADD. One of these is fidget toys. And fidget toys took off, if you will, a couple of years ago, that they were just fun to play with, right? But they are a very serious tool that empowers individuals with ADD that are sitting for um, long timelines, especially long timelines to them, right? 30 minutes or more, in especially a classroom setting where not only are they sitting still or in the same spot, but they are expected to engage their focus on a singular particular event that's happening, for example, the teacher's lesson. And so fidget toys are tremendously helpful in getting rid of energy or um, redirecting energy so that attention then can take place for these individuals. So these may seem, like I said, as they were popular a few years ago with many children, which is great. They are not a toy for individuals who have ADD. They are a tool and a very important tool. Noise canceling headphones are also incredibly important. So you may say, well, but Dr. Carey, how can the child with ADD hear the lesson if they have headphones on? Well, that's an excellent point. So when do these tools get applied and when are they just not appropriate? And that is something to work out with the teacher, the child, who can provide wonderful feedback of what's working and what's not working, and of course the parent or the guardian who has the driver's seat in making sure that these things are happening for this individual in their school setting, their child in the school setting. And so noise canceling headphones, they have great value in not only areas where there is a great deal of ambience noise. So I think of restaurants, I think of areas that malls, areas that have just a higher level of background noise, if you will. They're very powerful for ADD individuals who have ADD, that utilizing these noise canceling headphones in these settings help them to focus. Well, focus on what? They can't hear anything. They're noise canceling, right? So they're not necessarily eliminating. And then what they do is they reduce that background noise so that where individuals want to focus, they can better focus. Flexible seating. This was incredibly important to have flexible seating. And this is something that you can work with on the school. You see a perfectly common desk here, at least the structure of it, 90-degree seat, hard seat, and then a platform in front that can be seen as kind of a barrier, but also a valuable platform for writing on. And so, but nonetheless, this is a very non flexible seating arrangement. And so there are other options for people with ADD. Now, do they have to be in a beanbag where everybody else sits in? No, the goal is not to isolate them, to call out the differences that they need. The goal is to identify what tools, what support best helps them to focus and kind of go from there. So flexible seating can be where the location of that learner is within that classroom setting. Maybe they need to be more towards the front. Maybe they need to be more towards the back in some lessons or some areas or happenings that are going on in the classrooms. Maybe it's more appropriate to be near the back. And so also listed on here is visual schedules. So we talked a little bit about time management and the challenge, the really real challenge that neurodivergent individuals can have with managing time. And so visual schedules. And we talk about this often. We've talked about it in dyslexia. We've talked about it in some other of our online classes, that this is a very valuable tool, having visual schedules. And there's a myriad of opportunities for what makes a visual schedule. It can be a simple whiteboard that we use here in the office that is helps for the clarity of identifying the days of the week, the times of those days, and then the expectations or meetings or speaker events or whatever they might be within those schedules. And so know that visual schedules are really powerful. They can be online, they can be an electronic app, they can also just be, if you will, old school, and a whiteboard as just one example that we use here in neuronavigation. And then assistive technology, really, really valuable here. There is a myriad of technology that is available, whether it is fonts, whether it is behavior applications. There's just a myriad of assistive technologies that are available, and text-to-speech is another one that's really helpful. And I'll just share too that assistive technology, it can also be, as here is an example on this chair. I don't know if you noticed that there is a band. It's a latex or rubber band that is across the bottom of the chair here. And this is incredible. So simple, right? But it is an assistive technology in the sense that it allows for that individual with ADD to bounce their leg on, and it just helps to, again, to disseminate or redirect energy that is at times overwhelming for people with ADD. All right, strategies for accommodating ADHD. So we talked about visual aids. in the sense of schedules, but there are other visual aids, right? So color-coded materials, graphic organizers, those are so valuable. Multimedia presentations. So when a individual teacher is providing the lesson, then to have it in a multitude of visual aids. So maybe it's graphical, maybe it's also it's in a video, it's in a variety of opportunities to really hone in and gather that information. So important. Frequent breaks are really important for people with ADD, just to get up and walk around and again disperse some energy that may be happening, as well as to help them redirect focus when they sit back down. Behavioral therapy is a really important accommodation for ADHD. So really to help people with ADD, young people especially, to regulate. Remember we talked about impulsive behavior. So to help them regulate their emotions, to help them reduce that impulsive behavior, and a myriad of developed strategies then to improve upon that focus that they're trying so hard to accomplish. Flexible deadlines, and this is a accommodation that my daughter used often and was a lifesaver for her. And so accommodations of flexible deadlines can be inclusive of, instead of an assignment being due in 3 days, maybe she has a week to do it. Instead of a exam being limited to 1 hour, maybe she has an unlimited timeline on it. Now, for those who do not understand, and all due respect, but do not understand or have experience with neurodivergent individuals, these accommodations can, I've heard, can be perceived as cheating or opportunities to um, fake the system out and get ahead. But I assure you that it is quite the opposite of that. Remember, our mission is to create equity, and it's accommodations that indeed create or make closer or close that gap. And the equity, the access to learning information that's being shared, right? And so please see accommodations as an attempt. They don't always do this, but at an attempt to level the playing field for those who have neurodivergent people, who have so many challenges to gain the same information that somebody like myself, a neurotypical learner, might not have any experience of or understanding of, because it's just not the life that we live day to day. So that's really important to share and get across. And then a couple of things that are not mentioned here is sleep. Sleep routine for any of us, regardless of your ability to focus or your conditions, sleep is imperative. Our bodies need sleep so it's so important to help to regulate, to rebuild, to regenerate. There's so many benefits of sleep. So getting a sleep routine is imperative, and that might be that establishing consistent sleep routine is something that's so crucial that you may want to even talk to, if you're seeing that your child is not sleeping well, or regardless of the way they slept poorly the night before, they still can't seem to catch up. You may want to go in and have a conversation with your child's pediatrician to see what can be done. You really want to ensure that your child has a regular bedtime, a cool and dark sleeping environment, and limited exposure to screens before bed. And I realize that this is not easy, especially as they get older and you have hormones that come into play, and you have real stressors that children experience as they grow older. This simple direction of limit screen time, make sure bedtime happens, a cool and dark place, etc., is not is very basic information and recommendation, but it is vital. Don't overlook it. There's a reason that it's repeated by so many physicians or doctors out there. And it's also been scientifically proven that good sleep can significantly reduce the ADHD symptoms. So sleep is a powerful tool. So everything you can do to help to encourage, improve sleep, consider doing it. Okay, let's talk very briefly about medications. So there are a few medications out there that have been tried and tested, and some really work for some people with ADHD. My daughter who had ADHD has tried all of these medications. We'll talk about those in a little bit more detail. And tried them for about 3 years. Tried different types of one. Went from pills to patches. So there's a myriad of ways that you can receive the medication into into your body or your system. And I'll just be honest, for her, none of them seemed to make a difference. And that was her feedback, of course. And so we had a very serious conversation and said, if these aren't working, then uh, do you want to try to not do them and see if there's a difference? And that's what she did. And she said, I don't even notice a difference. And so that was my daughter with her ADHD and her neurodivergent individualism. We also know she has many friends, and we have many clients who really share that medication, especially the right dose, the right kind of medication, made a huge difference. And so, it's of course always up to you what you want to try, but this is something to talk to about your pediatrician, your neuropsychologist that you are maybe already working with, and identify if that's something that you and your child want to try. So the role of the medication, though, simply put, it is all on a chemical level, and it increases neurotransmitter levels. Remember, we talked about the synapses, or the being wired different in the brain, and the energy that moves the information from one neuron brain nerve cell to another. So this is what the chemical makeup of the medications do. So they increase the neurotransmitter levels. They have, for some people, made a tremendous difference in improving focus and attention, and reducing reducing the hyperactivity and that impulsivity, which can result in increasing executive functioning. And executive functioning is something that all humans need to get through day by day ins and outs. So, you know, identifying what you want to work on today, organizing yourself so that you do work on it, giving yourself feedback that what you've done meets the expectation, etc. So time management, executive functions are really critical in day-to-day survival and in day-to-day success. And so medications can have a significant impact on that. Types of medications. And so there are stimulants, and these can include what you may have heard of, Ritalin, as well as Adderall. Those are really the two most popular stimulants. Those were both at different times the medications that my daughter tried, and she determined that they didn't make enough of a difference for her, and she tried all sorts of doses. But it didn't make it, when I say it didn't make a difference for her, what I mean by that is that she did notice a difference. However, the difference did not outweigh the challenges that she endured with taking the medications. So that's what I mean by that. So you just really have to balance what seems to be best for you. And of course, work with your doctor and in determining that, because they have a wealth of information, education to help you with that. There are also non-stimulants that can be taken. And so these are, a couple of them included here, clonidine, guanfacine, and others can be used if they're tolerated well to help with certain symptoms. And so let me be specific. So clonidine is a medication that is well known to help children who are having difficulty in falling asleep. And so remember me saying that my daughter with ADHD around 7:30, 8 p.m. every single night, regardless of how tough her day was, how much exercise she got in that day, or how little she slept the day before, she would have this ramp up of energy. And so she takes clonidine, has been taking it for years, and it works phenomenal for her. It reduces that ramp up and keeps her at that steady pace of slowing down and getting ready for sleep. That natural rhythm most of us have, that for whatever reason, being wired differently, and whatever reason it is for her particular body, she just does not have at the end of the day. And so these are non-stimulant medications, and there's many more out there. And again, this is something to talk about with your child's pediatrician, medical provider. And what is helpful is when you have that conversation, if you're very specific. So, for example, I did not go in and ask my pediatrician for clonidine. What I did do is say, here is what we're seeing at home. Here's the challenges that it causes, and I need help to support her in combating this challenge that really has a domino negative effect in other areas of her life. And so we worked together and discovered that clonidine was indeed something that was very helpful. So that's really the approach to go. And really anytime you visit a doctor, if you can give them as much detail as possible of what the concern is, the realization of the impact, it will help them to identify the right tools or resources or medications that may be supportive to provide help. Okay, and then there's some over-the-counter options, right? So melatonin is a medication too that is used to kind of reset that circadian algorithm or rhythm, and support the body in falling asleep. Now, there's all kinds of information out there about any and all of these medications, and long-term effects and or side effects may certainly exist. So I am not recommending any of these because I don't know your child. I do not know your neurodivergent learner and what they need, but certainly go to, again, your child's pediatrician or medical doctor and share with them the challenges. And you can certainly say, I've heard about these, and what do you think about these helping for these specific challenges that they have? And then combination therapy. And so there is behavioral therapy that is available out there. I've heard some really pros and cons about it. So a combination of therapy and medication and or a variety of tools and support systems may be the best combination for your neurodivergent learner and the specific challenge that they are enduring. Okay, so we have an entire online class just about positive affirmation. And positive affirmation is, we here at Neuro Navigation feel it is incredibly important because individuals who are neurodivergent, so they learn differently, not one day goes by that they are not reminded of that. And it is very common for a neurodivergent individual to feel like, or to be made to feel like, they are less than. And I talk about that in every single online class. It genuinely is the opposite of that. They are not less than. They are capable of learning. It is up to their support system to identify what tools, resources, and help or services that will empower their learning so that they have equity in accessing their education. But they are not less than. And in fact, when I say it's the opposite, I really mean that. Neurodivergent individuals, people who learn differently, have this incredible thinking ability to see things that are outside the box, problem solving. They usually are amazing at puzzles, at patterns, um, at finding um, um, new innovative ways to accomplish a, a problem or situation. And so it's so imperative to have positive affirmation, to consistently reinforce positivity, that yes, because when they're growing up, it's so challenging that how come I'm not catching on like my peers? How come I can't do it the first time or the 100th time? It's because of the support system that is needed. You get that support system in place with the right tools, the resources, etc., they will excel. And so reminding them of that, and reminding them that it really is, while it is a struggle and there are challenges, it is a positive thing for our society that they think differently. And we welcome them, we embrace them, we appreciate them, we need them. And so building the confidence, um, continuously promoting motivation for trying again and to learning how it is a bit of a mystery at first, and there is not a cookie cutter formula to it. We're all individuals, we are all unique in our own way, and so encouraging individuals to keep motivating them to determine what works best for you, and having that resources around them, the support system that says, let's try this, let's try that. The wonderful news is there are thousands, I can't count them, thousands of resources and tools out there. The hard thing is what works for that individual, right? And it takes time to figure that out, especially when they're young and they are still working to figure out how to articulate what is or isn't working. And of course, there's that immaturity, that natural immaturity that we all have when we're younger, of being frustrated and wanting to give up. So that is why it's so important to continue the positive reinforcement, and of course identify when something is done right or well, or a breakthrough, and you will have those, is identified, to really intentionally celebrate those big wins, because they are going to get that individual closer and closer to closer understanding how they learn and what they need to do to be successful. Okay, so put it all together, right? Um, it takes a village, if you will. So not only do you need to help to identify the tools, and I need to say this real quick. At neuronavigation, there is a list. We have a menu that is simply called resources, and another menu called tools. Go in there, explore all of those, and identify which ones you want to work with your teacher, you want to talk to your child's pediatrician about. Identify all those that you think would be helpful. And always keep your child fully engaged, right? Nobody likes things done to them. They want things done with them. And so that is definitely the approach we recommend here at Neuronavigation, is working with the neurodivergent learner, those who learn differently, to identify what's working, what's not working. So frequent communication to the school, to the child, what's happening, what do you need, what's working, what's not working, and making changes to that. Coordinated strategies, really identifying, all right, so we're going to implement this new tool, this new resource, and in a week, should be a short time, in a week, 2 weeks, we want to see a difference. And this is the difference we're looking for. And then asking and sharing with that child, did we see it? Did we accomplish it? Do we need to do more, less, etc.? And also know that as that neurodivergent learner increases their ability, so they go from first grade, second grade, third grade, increases their skill sets, increases their maturity, grows, that these tools and resources may need to change. They very likely will need to change and be different as they, again, incorporate increased learning within their education. So working together with a group is really how to make things happen. And you are not alone. So not only do you have us here at Neuronavigation, know that there are communities out there that are arms wide open and accepting and want to connect with you and support you and your neurodivergent learner in the success that you should and need to have. And so here's just a very short list of wonderful organizations that are out there. Feel free to come over to our Neuronavigation website and find more. And it is really imperative. This is something I learned the hard way as a mother of a neurodivergent learner, is that you feel isolated, you feel alone for a little bit. But if you find a community, there are many of us out here. If you find a community and open up with us and say, this is what I've seen, anybody else having that? You will experience many people saying, oh, yeah, we experienced that. And we tried X, Y, and Z, and this didn't work, but that did work. And remember, there's no cookie cutter recipe out there for, quote, a fix, quote. But there are a multitude of resources and tools available for various solutions that can be applied that do make positive impacts. So don't be shy. Don't feel like you can't talk to others. It's so important to speak up. And this is really just opening the door to getting support, not only for your child, but also for yourself. Fostering a supportive environment. So again, within the school system, as well as at home, you will start to apply these resources and tools, and you will notice a really positive difference in a myriad of ways. So accommodate the learning styles. That really happens in the school setting and can be done through the teaching, through the agreements of IEP plans. That is an individualized educational plan set forth for a neurodivergent learner or somebody who learns a little bit differently. There are a flexible, a myriad of different kinds of these flexible deadlines. Minimize the distractions can happen, providing clear communication. And so that's not only articulating clearly, but that could be also communication in writing, communication to make it clear for the parent at home so they know what the child should be working on and they can support them in that. And then encouraging, breaks and movement and I used to say for my daughter, I still do today, help her to get wiggles out. Wiggles meaning having that extra energy. And she's very appreciative of that. And it's just a communication we move that we utilize in a friendly, loving mannerism. And it may or may not work for you, but know that, again, there are lots of resources, lots of tools that are out there. And fostering that supportive environment, both in the educational system, which your child's teachers will be accountable for, as well as you at home, you're going to see a tremendous difference, a happiness, a positivity, a building of confidence, a lot of different positive impacts when you start to work on these things. So benefits of individualized support. So we talk about here that, every student with ADHD exhibits unique challenges and strengths. Again, we are all individual. And so providing that individual support is imperative for really making that positive change, not only at the school system, but in their socialization, in their um, regulation, and of course in the home environment. So well worth the investment, and many of the tools and resources are not significantly time consuming, are not significantly expensive, etc. So really go through and have a look at those and see what ones you think will help. And then if there are any out there that you need more information about, write us at info@neuro-navigation.com. You'll see that address again at the last slide here. It's written down for you. But write us, ask us questions. We're going to be happy to respond and to help with anything that we can. And most importantly, encourage those experts around you. Share with them. This is the challenge we see, and anticipate that the people that you go to have positive, noble intent of supporting your child, right? So reach out to all the experts and professionals that you have just within your own community to find help for your child. It is imperative to do this sooner than to wait later, because as we know how school works, it's a cumulative. It just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows on lessons, on moving from grade to grade, on expectations for understanding concepts and building off of those. And so the sooner that you get this support for your child, the better. I cannot emphasize that. I share that in every single online class. The sooner you get support, the better for them. Do not wait. All right, this is our last screen. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is such a pleasure to be able to share our experiences with you, our education, so that you are able to empower your little learner sooner than later. One of the books that we have online that my daughter authored is called Clever Girl. And specifically it's Clever Girl Meets ADHD, and it's a geared for children, but it was her experience as a child learning about having ADHD, how it made a difference for her, getting diagnosed for it, and then receiving the support system, and really comparing the benefits that did for her, so that it's just one person's experience, but so that others maybe can glean some insight from it and move in positive directions for themselves. Okay, so here again, info@neuro-navigation.com is where you can reach out to us. Our website is www.neuro-navigation.com. Feel free to go and explore and find tools and resources and services that you may feel are benefits for you and your child. We wish you the very, very best and full equity in your little learners' access to their education. Thank you, and have a fantastic rest of the day.